RocketLab just took off recently and started to break out. And there's some key reasons why it's pushed up above this 200-day moving average, started this new trend upwards after making a run. I remember learning about this company a couple of years ago. I have a friend that works there. $3 a share is when I discovered it, and we have a position there. It surged to $33 a share earlier this year and then sold down to what was a low of $14 before recovering up to 23. And this recent trend, with the exception of this oversell that happened here, has been very nice. We were trading it this morning in our market open session, and there's a window right now. If you guys want lifetime access, we've averaged about 17% returns over the past 3 months. So you get to see my entries and my exits every day. Don't miss out. It's the second link in the description to watch us trade live. So again, we're actually trading RocketLab this morning. We saw a big pullback right at market open, and you could see here's what happened. We actually ended up buying here. It did continue down a little bit further after we purchased, kind of sized up our position, and right now what we're looking for is this recovery that we already kind of drew. So it's about really a 10 to 20% recovery if we get up to this $24 range again, and it holds this overall trend. Some people look at this trend and they say, Will, look at that big sell down. It's way overextended. It could sell down here. But I think that this level, this $14, the whole market sold off that day, and it was an overreaction from the stock. And so saw it get back right into trend. It's holding the trend. And now the RSI, the MACD, right here, as you can see, take a look at that RSI there. It is looking on the oversold side, down to about 30. The MACD is pretty low there, so it does indicate more of a buy on the near term. Why would you invest in RocketLab, and what's the reason? Well, they're in a growing industry of space. They've been pretty consistent in their patterns, and they are recently reporting some great earnings. But just because the pattern looks good is not just one way to invest, or because the RSI or the MACD looks good. It's not just the RSI or the MACD. We never are going to rely on solely one indicator. We want to use multiple indicators, and that comes down to our analysis. And our analysis is broken down into the charts, which we just kind of went over here and why we got in. And then we have number 2, which is the news. And then number 3, which is the financials. And I could actually start here with the financials a little bit. RocketLab recently reported their earnings, and you can see the revenue here was increasing. So year over year, their revenue is up over 100%. And they recently recorded earnings here, March 2025. They surprised about 17%. Their expected revenue was beat by about 1%. So they're looking very green. And bringing in hundreds of millions of dollars every quarter is quite it's pretty unprecedented when it comes to space companies. Usually you look at space companies, and up until a few years ago, it was all this experiments. It was all research. It was all this. But RocketLab has some real reasons why they're making revenue. One of the reasons is that they have their launches for satellites. So they have satellites they've launched, about 224 with their Electron. They have, and that's their rocket. They have 1,700 plus satellites on orbit right now in space with RocketLab technology. And they have a lot of experience, over 150 years in cumulative rocket space technology experience. So from idea to orbit, when we look at their company, one of the reasons why they're standing out as a space company is because their rockets use specific materials that allow them to build rockets much cheaper and still be able to launch those rockets requiring less payload and fuel. They use carbon composite, and carbon fiber, and even 3D printed materials to launch their rockets, which gives them an advantage. Because if you look at, for example, SpaceX is notoriously, they have their Falcon Heavy, or just take a look at their recent their recent rocket ships, they're steel. They're solid steel, and they're pretty heavy. They got huge engines, and they do land themselves. But one thing to note is RocketLab specializes in materials that are much cheaper, but that can still do the same stuff. So I like how they're developing their tech, and they're also end to end. So one of the reasons we look at them, right, end to end means they make their own solar, they make their own semiconductors, they create their own technology, and they also launch. This is where the money comes. The money is in where their revenue is really growing is in their partnerships. One partnership they have is with this Knice technology. They launch satellites into space for this company Knice, or Knace, I think it is, and it's to for the company to have satellites in space that provide value to the world by tracking different things that are going on down on Earth. And then if you look at their recent news from what's going on with Knice, you can see that they've launched with RocketLab numerous times. Okay, so because they're launching with RocketLab, there's a lot of companies that are paying RocketLab in order to get their constellations up into space. So that's simply what's happening here. So with the news, that's how it looks. And then you jump into the financials. Again, it looked pretty good. Revenue was increasing. They were beating their earnings per share with pretty good guidance. And their net income was improving. Now, quarter over quarter is improving. Year over year, it was actually, it's still down a tad bit on the net income, which is okay, but not anything that's so negative that would raise any red flags to me. I feel like they have the cash and they're building the financials well. So when it comes down to RocketLab, again, we'll be watching here at this $20 price point. We just got in on this dip. It is down a tad bit, but we're looking for that 15 to 20% swing, which would be just under $1,000 for the trade if that happens. It could happen in a few days, as that's normally how fast these swings take place with RocketLab. And then kind of the risk management, as you notice, the RSI and the MACD down here are oversold. RSI is at 30, MACD is oversold there. So it does look more like a buy in my eyes. And holding above that 200-day moving average is what I'm looking at here. So we'll see if it holds above $20 a share. If it does, we'll be in a really good position here to start the week. This Friday, it's closing out. We'll see how it ends the day. And then Monday, we got market open, which we'll be watching other opportunities to do investments in. If you guys are interested in tech, space companies, quantum computing companies, which we go to conferences, we get to meet the companies, make sure to subscribe for the best insights on the internet. In fact, sometimes there's announcements in quantum computing that they literally don't cover publicly. We go to the conferences, we actually talk with the executives and get you guys the best insights from space. We just went to space. I got this the SpaceX thing here. So Space Symposium. I don't know if I can pull it off my chair. Oh, there we go, kind of. But yeah, media pass. So we got full media passes as a result of the YouTube channel. Trying to get you guys the best information and also sharing the insights and making the moves in our daily live sessions. So if you ever are eager to see what all that information leads to, you get to see it on the YouTube. And at the same time, you could get access to watch my entries and exits in StockMate. If you ever are looking to surround yourself with other like-minded individuals and get to watch me trade live each and every day, then I would encourage you guys to check the second link in the description, StockMate. There's a huge sale there, and it's actually lifetime access. It's not a subscription or anything like that for the time being. That is going away soon, so I would encourage you guys. It's a huge sale. It's not getting better than this. I would encourage you to simply take a look at that in the second link in the description. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If I earned your thumbs up, hit the like button. Do consider subscribing. I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.